Attachment theory is a psychological model attempting to describe the dynamic of long-term and short-term interpersonal relationships between humans. Attachment theory is not formulated as a general theory of relationships. It addresses only a specific aspect, how humans respond within relationships when hurt, separated from loved ones, or perceiving a threat. The fundamental assumption in attachment research on human infants is that sensitive responding by the parent to the infant's needs results in an infant who demonstrates secure attachment, while lack of such sensitive responding results in insecure attachment. Theorists have postulated several varieties of insecure attachment. There are two main, avoidant and resistant, also called ambivalent. And of course, there is one else and it's called secure. This three-hierarchy taxonomy of secure, avoidant, and resistant attachment was developing as a way of classifying infant behavior in the strange situation, which is one experiment. Secure infants either seek proximity or contact or else greet the parent at the distance with a smile or wave. Avoidant infants avoid the parent, and resistant, ambivalent infants either passively or actively show hostility toward the parent. The most important tenet of attachment theory is an infant needs to develop a relationship with at least one primary caregiver for the child's successful social and emotional development, and in particular for learning how to regulate their own feelings. Any caregiver is likely to become the principal attachment figure if they provide most of the child care and related social interaction. In the presence of a sensitive and responsive caregiver, the infant will use the caregiver as a safe base from which to explore. Anxious ambivalent attachment is also misnamed as resistant attachment. In general, a child with an anxious ambivalent pattern of attachment will typically explore little in the strange situation, which is experiment, and is often wary of strangers even when the parent is present. When the mother departs, the child is often highly distressed. The child is generally ambivalent when his mother returns. The anxious ambivalent strategy is a response to unpredictably responsive caregiving and the displays of anger, which is ambivalent resistant, or helplessness, which is ambivalent passive towards the caregiver, usually the mother in many cultures. An infant with an anxious avoidant pattern of attachment will avoid or ignore the caregiver, showing little emotion when the caregiver departs or returns. The infant will not explore very much regardless of who is there. Infants classified as anxious avoidant represent a puzzle in the early 1970s. They did not exhibit distress on separation and neither ignore the caregiver on their return, A1 subtype, or showed some tendency to approach together with some tendency to ignore or turn away from the caregiver, A2 subtype. Some scientists theorize that the apparently unruffled behavior of the avoidant infants was in effect a mask for distress, a hypothesis later evidenced through studies of the heart rate of avoidant infants. Infants are anxious avoidant when there is conspicuous avoidance of the mother in the reunion episodes, which is likely to consist of ignoring her altogether, although there may be some pointed looking away, turning away, or moving away. If there is a greeting when the mother enters, it tends to be mere look or smile. Either the baby does not approach his mother upon reunion, or they approach in abortive fashions with the baby going past the mother, or it tends to only occur after much coaxing. If picked up, the baby shows little or no contact maintaining behavior. He or she tends not to cuddle in. He looks away and he may squirm to get down. Maine proposed that avoidance has two functions for an infant whose caregiver is consistently unresponsive to their needs. Firstly, avoidant behavior allows the infant to maintain a conditional proximity with the caregiver, close enough to maintain protection, but distant enough to avoid rebuff. Secondly, the cognitive process organizing avoidant behavior could help direct attention away from the unfulfilled desire for closeness with the caregiver, avoiding a situation in which the child is overwhelmed with emotion, disorganized distress, and therefore unable to maintain control of themselves and achieve even conditional proximity. Secure attachment is classified by children who show some distress when their caregiver leaves, but they are able to compose themselves knowing that their caregiver will return. Children with secure attachment feel protected by their caregivers, and they know that they can depend on them to return. Traumatized ENFPs later in life can be emotionally unstable. They can have a long-term pattern of abnormal behavior characterized by unstable relationships with other people, unstable sense of self, and unstable emotions. There is often dangerous behavior and self-harm too. They may also struggle with a feeling of emptiness and fear of abandonment. Traumatized INFPs and ENFJs later in life. Initially high sensory processing sensitivity, characterized by deeper processing of physical and emotional stimuli alongside high levels of empathy, inhibits their ability to form secure bonds with others, and they display a pattern of severe social anxiety, social inhibition, feelings of inadequacy and inferiority, extreme sensitivity to negative evaluation and rejection, and avoidance of social interaction despite a strong desire for intimacy. Traumatized INFJs later in life. Despite having a secure attachment as infants, traumatized INFJs usually had a caregiver who was too much around them, so they weren't able to breathe and to be free. They had either overprotection or too much authority. When the caregiver is not around, they become hopeless and afraid.
Oh, I love INFJs. She won't cheat on me, she's loyal, she won't abandon me, she needs me to be around, and I just feel safe around her. With him, I never feel alone. He always wants me. He's always around. I do love him. I just don't want him close. He never gets too close, and I feel so safe around him. I mean, even when I'm not around him, and you know what I mean? Don't get too close, it's dark inside.